My name is Doug Kaufman. For the past 40 years, I've dedicated my life and even my career to finding the root cause of disease. Join me in a team of physicians, pharmacists, and scientists, and soon you too will know the cause. Hey friends, welcome to the show that you have popularized. Not my fault, it's all you. You're watching us every day and telling your friends about Know the Cause. I think it's probably the only television show that offers you a different perspective, right? When we go to a doctor, we get one perspective. On this show, we say sometimes you gotta go to a doctor, right? Kristen Kahns joins me. She is a chef, she is a nutritionist. She's my good buddy for a long, long time. Kyle Drew, okay, now moving. Kyle and I go back. Kyle was a pharmaceutical sales rep, right, for the largest pharmaceutical company. Sold chemotherapy drugs, and then one day saw me on TV and his world changed. Thank you for joining us. Boy, we could talk for hours on what's happened.
We have, haven't we, over the years?
Just absolutely amazing. So today we thought we'd do kind of a round table, a potpourri. We have pulled things out of not the scientific literature this time, but out of newspapers and magazines that we thought might interest you. Case in point, we've all been following a few months ago this little 17-year-old girl who had Hodgkin's lymphoma, and she decided not to have chemotherapy. I probably would have decided the same thing, but I'm not 17, right? I'm 18. At 17, she is governed by her parents' rules, and her parents said she doesn't want to do it, she shouldn't have to do it. Forcing teen to have chemo, not troubling to ethicists. Oh, medical ethicists. Oh, love to have dinner with them one day. She shouldn't be allowed to say no when the benefits are so clear-cut to these therapies. Now, I want to teach you a little bit because this was Hodgkin's lymphoma, and there was really a doctor named Thomas Hodgkins who had something to say about cancer, named after him. Look at this. Hodgkin's lymphoma is a type of lymphoma in which cancer originating from the white blood cells called lymphocytes. That's where the cancer comes from. It is named after Dr. Thomas Hodgkins in 1892. Dr. Hodgkins believed that cancerous growths were, are you ready? Parasitic cysts. Fungi are known to parasitize man, and some fungi live in a sac-like structure, also known as parasitic cysts. Fungi are known to mimic cancer, yet doctors are unaware of Dr. Hodgkins' original belief. Isn't that sad?
It's incredible.
Here's a doctor who didn't know what cancer was a couple hundred years ago, but he said they're little pedunculated cysts that branch together, and they're parasitic. Fungus is a parasite. It parasitizes man. It grows in sac-like structures, and it mimics cancer perfectly. So forcing a little girl to have poisonous therapies when you don't know the cause of Hodgkin's lymphoma, I think requires a little more thinking before we move that girl in the halls of IV chemotherapy.
When I was selling chemotherapy, I sold drugs for breast cancer, lung cancer, but also non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and chronic lymphocytic leukemia. And what I want to tell you and what I will tell you might be two different things, but just suffice it to say that the studies that they hold up and say, see, it's clear cut that this really and truly works. I've sat in those meetings, behind the scenes, the meetings you never get to sit in, where they tell us what the actual results of those studies are. But then sometimes the studies that make it to you are the ones that are a little bit more flowery, that the numbers are bumped up a little bit. Case in point, one of my drugs had a 3% response rate. But somehow when I made it out to the doctor, I was showing him a study in which it had a 53% response rate. 53, not 3%. Don't tell me it's clear cut, Mr. Gupta. Don't tell me it's clear cut.
Yeah, I mean, we have to, folks, it's sad she was 17. At 18, she could have said, no, I'm not going to do that. I have to wonder how many people have had chemotherapy and 5 years later are still alive today. And I know there's many of you out there, thank God, who have gone that route. But I also have to wonder how many over 17s have not had chemotherapy and have said, look, that lump in my breast, I'm going to change my diet, I'm going to take supplements, I'm going to, sweat in saunas, I'm going to work out hard. Because I get those letters all the time about people who have said, thank God for Know the Cause and other TV shows where we learn about alternatives. So important. You and Brad had symptoms, when I first met you.
Oh yeah, we were sick, and when you go to these studies and you're looking in magazines and things like that, you really have to go to medical journals, and how many people do that? You kind of listen to what, is on TV and stuff, and what Kyle was saying, it's not always the truth.
Oh, if you only knew the boards that make up the decision makers in medicine.
Yep.
What did you pull out, Kyle?
Okay, here's something from a very popular website, bad carbs that are actually good for you. And there were 6, but I gave you 4. I'm giving you 4. First one they say that it's actually good for you is corn. Second one is bananas. Third one is breakfast cereals. Fourth one is white potatoes. You'll love it. It's another dietitian.
Yep.
I've banned all dietitians on my radio show for this reason. This dietitian says white potatoes are actually good for you. They're a good source of vitamin C. Please, vitamin C in white potatoes. There are a million better sources of vitamin C. Corn. My gosh, the gluten people have overtaken the whole thinking on this because they say, well, it's gluten-free, and therefore corn ought to be actually a good carb. But they know nothing of mycology. They know nothing of this poison that is universally contaminating our corn supply, according to Dr. Ruth Etzel, Journal of the American Medical Association, and causes disease.
Yeah.
This is such a sham, in my opinion.
You didn't get much time.
Well, but no, about that, I was going to say, I've been following some blogs for years, gluten-free blogs, and that are really big into the corn. And then I see over the years, these bloggers are becoming really sick. And then they're saying, oh, I'm having to take this out, and I don't know what's wrong. And there you go.
So what medicine do you take? And are there 2 kinds of medicine cabinets, yours and hers? When we get back, we'll show you what's in hers. Don't go away.
Know the cause has just changed my entire life for sure. It's getting down to the root issue that seems to be avoided by so many in the medical profession and the pharmaceutical profession. We began about 3 years ago watching Know the Cause. I knew that God wanted us healthy, but I didn't know the specifics of how to make that happen other than what's being taught in mainstream media. We know that diet and exercise is so critical. The specifics of what to eat and why to eat those things, that's what we got from Know the Cause. The fact of the matter is that a lot of people have begun to believe that their health conditions are not solvable by just simply looking at how our bodies respond to trauma. Our bodies heal themselves, and if our bodies are not healing themselves and if they're getting worse, that's an indication that something's wrong, something's off, and we need to get to the root cause of it. If you ignore information that's being presented to you to heal you, that information that can save your life, then the ignorance is actually willful. I've been on the phase 1 diet, and I might fall off the wagon, but I get back up and I do what I have to do. And I am getting some improvement. My weight is coming down, my waist is shrinking, my chronic sinusitis issues, all of that is dissipating. So I know it's working. When something's working and people are getting results, it's worth paying attention to. Final advice is watch Know the Cause, because you will get the true answer to the true problem.
And welcome back, friends. Now, I posed the question to you before we went to that last break. What do you have in your medicine cabinet? You can tell a lot about a person by looking at his checkbook, where he spends his money, right? You can tell a lot about a person about what's in their medicine cabinet. Well, your medicine cabinet may be different from Kristen's. This is a mommy of a 1-year-old, Emma Jane. Oh, and a woman who's going to have another baby in...
Yes, 4 months
4
or so.
months. I'm so excited for you and Brad. But I know this to be true. I know these are in your medicine cabinet. Tell us a little bit about each.
Yeah, so I get calls from family, friends, clients that are sick, and they're saying, oh, I have a cold, or I have this or that, what should I do? And I always feel horrible, because then I have to say, well, you need to go to the store and get this, and maybe some things they have to get online. And so it's, when you're sick, that's the last thing you want to do. So if you just keep these things in your medicine cabinet, I call it my alternative medicine cabinet,
Yes.
then you've got it on hand for all year long. So a good thing that I use that's good and gentle for babies and young children and adults as well, is colloidal silver. It helps to kill viruses and bacteria and all of that. They have the nose spray. They've got droppers that you can put under your tongue. And they even have a spray bottle that I use if Emma Jane gets any diaper rash or anything like that. So it's just nice and gentle that you can use. And I've used it while I'm pregnant, both times actually,
Safely,
when I
I mean,
start
yeah.
to get the
Yep.
sniffles or something like
super
that.
safe.
Yes, super
Yeah.
safe. And then also my favorite nasal spray and throat sprays are the olive leaf, the Seagate olive leaf.
me too.
They're just classic, and anytime I start to get anything, I take a little and I usually feel better.
And they taste good.
They
Kids,
taste great. They're
I know
really
little
sweet.
Berkeley, he'll resist you, but when you finally squirt that in his mouth, he goes, give me more.
Yes.
You know, it's really
yes.
good. Yeah.
So perfect. And then I usually double up on my antifungals that I'm taking. So I love olive leaf is one of my favorites. Oil of oregano, you can take it under the tongue, or they have pills. But I just kind of double up on 2 or 3 and do that for a few days, and I'm usually better. The essential oils I've fallen in love with since I had Emma Jane. It's something I've always been interested in, but having a little one, it's just wonderful to rub the thieves. There's cinnamon, there's oregano. You can rub on the bottom of their feet with maybe a little coconut oil to dilute it a little, and it's wonderful. Lavender is just good. It kind of calms them. So it's one of those things that you have on hand that's really easy.
Yeah.
I was going to say, she sounds like such a mom right now because everything is, well, the baby. And that is a huge question that we always get is, what can I do for our baby? And that's where you love some of this stuff. And by the way, the whole studio smells like thieves oil
It does,
now.
it does,
Young Living
because we all went
smells
around and,
great.
we're putting on our Katie, Berkeley's mom, Evan's wife, will massage Berkeley's feet and his thighs. And I'm telling you, normally he's a 90-mile-an-hour guy. He just stays there absorbing all of it. I'll never forget when Evan, my son, who is 32 now, was a year old. One night he struck a fever, 101, 102, and Ruth said, get down to Savon's, Manhattan Beach, California. And it was really interesting, Kristen, what happened. First of all, it was 3 in the morning. I didn't wear glasses at that time in my life. You cannot read the ingredients in any fever remedy. And she said, get something natural. 30 years ago, there was nothing in health food stores or in pharmacies that was natural. Now they're beginning to jump on board. I just did a blog about this. The sense of the blog was, well, these pharmacists are just selling these natural things to make money, but they have no interest in them. Nonsense. Pharmacists have tremendous interest in things that work and don't cause liability problems. But there I stood, in this line of things looking, and finally found that there was nothing for him. So we went home, gave him a tepid sponge bath. I sat in, I was shivering, and he got better the next day. So natural often gets it. Sometimes, however, we do need a doctor. And when we get back, let's continue answering questions that people have of us, see if we can point some people in the right direction.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you. Great segment.
Thanks.
The reason that we get exceptional results is because fungus is everywhere, and we deal with that possibility in every patient we see. No matter what their symptoms are, we always think about fungus.
Fungus causes many diseases in the body, from cancer to autoimmune diseases to cardiovascular diseases. And fungus doesn't just happen. There are causes behind fungus.
Fungus makes mycotoxins. Mycotoxins have bad effects on people. And pretty much if there's a medical disease, there's a mycotoxin out there that can cause it.
And one of the interesting things that you really see is you see the effect of yeast and fungi on people's immune system, which really takes its toll. Even talking about how mold is a co-infection with Lyme, and one of the things that mold does is reduce the immune system, predisposing you to the spirochete, which causes Lyme. So you can, once you get a yeast problem, then you're just going to start, the snowball is going to start rolling because the decrease in the immune system is going to start getting more and more illnesses because of that depletion in the immune systems.
We know that a person, for example, that goes under protracted stress will be pumping out so much cortisol that it'll suppress their immune system and allow the fungus to overgrow.
God has put it there just like He's put the vultures and the mosquitoes and the flies and the rats, right? They are sacrificed and they are the cleanup crew. They're going to be there at some level, but we have to keep them down at such a level so that the normal cells can maintain health. If we have an overgrowth and we reduce that, then the cells will just naturally start to thrive again, right? Normal cells will naturally start to thrive again. I mean, all these diseases apparently are just symptoms of a toxic environment. We clean up the environment, then the disease goes away.
We also know that if a person gets exposed to electromagnetic fields, that the electromagnetic fields will stress the fungus and cause it to grow more rapidly and produce more aflatoxins, which poison the immune system and allow the fungus to grow faster.
Diflucan, on the other hand, we'll use a daily dose of about 100 milligrams for 30 days, and we'll check their liver function. It's kind of a luxury because I've never seen a problem. I've treated thousands of patients with diflucan.
There's a concern you guys might have. Your doctors might say, look, hepatotoxicity, right? Liver toxic. Diflucan is supposedly hepatotoxic. I never saw it.
Well, I've not seen one case. And I think the important thing to know is diflucan is probably the most powerful tool against systemic fungus, which is all through your body.
Now, what if you have fungus problems there and you're putting out fungus toxins, mycotoxins? Then you're going to have a lot of inflammation that are trying to defend you. So the important thing to understand about inflammation, it is the root cause of all degenerative diseases. The other ones, it's the root cause of all of those as well, because it's talking about your body's natural defense system and how you marshal that together. So the important thing to understand is that is not a diagnosis. That's just a descriptive anatomy area. Then you have to learn what's the cause.
But if you go one step below to see who controls the controller, would be the immune system. But the question is, who controls the immune system?
That's right.
The immune system is controlled by the microflora in the digestive system. And I know you've been an advocate of fungus for many, many years, and you're right. It's the most critical thing that I have found in my research, in my clinical experience, is food, the way we grow food. If you look at the foods, the fiber and other things, how much they have changed, and sugar is really the biggest culprit now.
So there are many underlying causes of the growth of fungus that we need to identify and resolve so that we can get rid of fungus.
Medicine cabinet. It's amazing what is in people's medicine cabinet. Most of us drugs. I am now of the age, at 65 years young, I'm of the age where I talk to Medicare from time to time. They can't believe I don't have a doctor. They can't believe I don't want Part B, which pays for drugs or something, doctor's visits. It's almost anti-religious if you don't sign up for all of these Medicare Part Z, M, D, et cetera. So what we want to do here is dispel some myths that are out there about snacking, eating, what foods, and so forth. You probably heard most of these myths, and I'm going to turn to you two. I have the magic finger.
All right.
And just by going like this,
Let's do it.
we get one of the myths on TV, and there it is. Snacking is always a bad idea on the Phase 1 diet.
Yeah, so if I couldn't snack, I don't know what I would do. Snacking is so good. It helps you to just feel satisfied. Eating just small meals, you can call it a snack, you can call it a small meal, whatever you want. But you want to be listening to your body and just kind of going with what your body's wanting. And the Phase 1 diet is starving the fungus. You're not on a calorie-restricted diet. You're eating your fats and your proteins and all of the good stuff. We're not worried about calories and fat. We're just trying to starve the fungus and eat the good foods.
Snack. I'm all for you. Kyle, no more fast food on the Phase 1 diet, true or false?
Well, I think ideally you try to stay away from that, but there is a Phase 1 way of doing that. We were talking on a Valentine's show once about various ways. I think you and John Miller went to a hamburger place once, and you just take off the bun and you have the lettuce and the pickles and the onions and everything else, and you're just eating it that way.
Yeah.
Obviously, most of these places are not going to be grass-fed beef and organic vegetables, but you sort of make that agreement with the world when you go out to a restaurant. So yeah, you can do Phase 1 at a fast food place. My gosh, on the road, this has to be the way that you do it all the time.
And you're gonna not get well because you had fast food one time without the bun or something.
Right.
It doesn't. Perfection isn't the goal.
But did you guys hit a point? I remember when I was sick, 100 years ago when I got back from Vietnam. I felt so good after a couple of weeks of eating my Vienna sausage, my avocado. My roommates looked at me like how come the Oreo cookies aren't gone? Doug's not here. And I felt amazing. And then you become totally paranoid. What's one Oreo cookie gonna hurt? What's one beer gonna hurt?
I think you're so right. The idea, and plus, I think about what I began, this is off on a tangent, but what I began as when I first started eating well, before I even knew the Kaufman protocols, my gosh, the smoothies that I made were like phase 10. You know, canned peaches with heavy syrup, 3 bananas, you know, it was horrible. But I improved because what I had been doing was Pop-Tarts and Post-O's and craziness like that. So.
Yep. Here's another one that I think is so interesting. Remember, folks, carbs are in huge number of foods. We don't think about carbs in a tomato, for example. You know, you think about carbs in grains and so forth. All carbs are bad. If that were true, your body would never get any sugar and you would cease living. I mean, the body needs fat. We talk about that all the time, the right fat. Fat became villainized 20 years ago, you know, when they said, boy, that atherosclerosis is due to fat, because they scraped it off and they looked under a microscope and said it's fat. Wonder if we can make fat with mycotoxins, with fungus in our body. So all carbs are bad.
Right, so like we're not counting calories, we're not counting carbs. And it's the processed carbs that we're trying to get out of our diet, the breads, the pastas, that kind of stuff. But the carbs that are in the phase 1 fruits, the vegetables, the nuts and seeds, you're good to go.
Here's one I wanted Kyle to address, because Kyle, believe it or not, used to pump iron like nobody I ever knew. He tells stories that were amazing what he did, all in search of optimizing his body and his health. Certain foods make you burn calories. Boy, if that were true.
It had nothing to do with my health.
Yeah,
it was just
it was about
certain food. Yeah, this is big. The secret food you've never heard of that will cause you to burn calories. You get this all the time on the internet. No. There is no secret food that is going to cause you to burn calories. Now, every single thing you put in your mouth, your metabolism raises just a little bit to help digest it. It's just the normal part. But there is no food that is magically creating calorie burning.
Do you guys remember take this pill before you go to bed and you wake up in the morning 13 pounds lighter? That's a lot of diarrhea, you know. I mean, it's absolutely amazing what we are sold on. We're so gullible. Be people, not sheeple. We had a great question about juvenile diabetes. When we get back, we'll address that.
Did you know that using an analgesic such as acetaminophen or ibuprofen frequently, like 2 or more days a week, can increase your risk of hearing loss? If you've noticed ringing in the ears, or you walk around the house going, huh? What? And you take one of these over-the-counter pain medications, please ask your doctor about switching to something else. Even natural remedies such as ginkgo biloba or zinc are known to support hearing. I'll see you next time.
So diabetes, beta cells in the pancreas are attacked by the body's regular cells, right? Can't produce insulin. The whole world goes awry. So we supplement with insulin. What attacks? You think God made 2 cells that are healthy that put boxing gloves on and start fighting? Because in medicine we do. Every autoimmune disease that we don't know the cause of is, boy, those cells are fighting each other. But there could be something invisible that would not only get in and dishevel both of those cells, but would also wreck the DNA within the nucleus of that cell, right? And there is. Chapter 7 is one I think that would interest all of you. You read this back when Dave and I did it.
Back when it wasn't called the fungus-linked diabetes, it was called my favorite title of all, infectious diabetes.
That's what I labeled it.
That's a good title.
Could we be passing along diabetes? So chapter 7 says, the current standards of diet for diabetics, can we do better? I think the answer is yes. So at any rate, look at these questions. We got a couple of them. I have juvenile diabetes, Doug. What would you do? And the second question, how can I start the phase 1 diet? I just learned that I have diabetes. You are not alone. They say 30 million Americans have it, but shh, it's a hidden disease. We all need to get to our doctor. And if he tells us we don't have diabetes, get to another one who will tell us we do. We all have diabetes. Why don't we play the hustle? It feels to me so much like this hustle goes on in medicine. You don't have diabetes? Let's draw the blood from this arm. See if we can get diabetes. Everybody's got to have a disease. Everybody's cholesterol has to be 201. We're going to die of heart attacks with a 201 unless we go on these medications. So type 1 diabetes, Kyle, How do you get started on the phase 1 diet?
Well, I like your rant, and so thumbs up on that. And the phase 1 diet, type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes. First of all, type 1 diabetes. The diet doesn't change depending on which one you have. Oh, hello, where am I? Right here. And so the main thing that we're doing is we are trying to rid ourselves of anything that is exacerbating the problem. We're assuming that there's a fungal problem or a mycotoxin problem. So we're eating low mycotoxin foods or no mycotoxin foods, plus we're eating things that starve fungi that might be on board. That's called the phase 1 diet. Yes, meat is on it. Yes, fish is on it. Yes, vegetables are on it, so that's great. In the case of juvenile or type 1 diabetes, these supplements are not for you. In the case of type 1, vanadium sulfate, don't look at it. Vanadium sulfate is the main one that you're wanting. Dr. Gary Evans, who discovered the picolinated form of chromium, perfect for type 2 diabetes, said on this show, it's vanadium, vanadium, vanadium. So that's the primary mineral you want. For type 2, these are some of your options. Cinnachrome from Bioactive Nutrients, one of our favorites, cinnamon and chromium picolinate. Gymnema sylvestre, crazy name, big results. This
Wasn't
is
he in
actually
Rocky 2?
Yeah, Gymnema sylvestre.
He was
It's
in
Stallone.
Rocky 2.
Gymnema Stallone. It's called glycosolve, but look for berberine. Berberine is massively antifungal. It is massively help your blood sugar, and bitter melon. These bitter principles just knock out not only the fungus, but seem to have an unusual effect of working with the sugar to be stabilized.
You worked with people with these diseases, doctors referred them to you, and yet the American Diabetes Association says, careful of protein, careful of milk and nuts and eggs and so forth, because that's too much protein and hard on the kidneys, and yet we're finding it isn't necessarily true.
I mean, supplements paired with the phase 1 diet is key. That's where it's at.
I really think it is. Get your blood sugar stabilized.
Exercise.
Exercise, etc. Okay, don't go away. We'll be right back for a close. The time to close already? Of today's Know the Cause. Went fast. I know that some of you enjoy a glass of wine or a drink from time to time, and here's what I want to do, not judge you, certainly. What I want to do is try and teach you quickly what that is. You see, the fungus is called brewer's yeast. The byproduct, or the poison it makes, is called alcohol. So if you drink, don't drink a lot, drink a little bit. And then before you go to bed at night, some cooked spinach, the green chlorophyll, should help sop up the mycotoxins that are now left in the tummy. Kristen, I am sorry, we missed the most important story. Please tell.
Well, very popular magazines, we see it everywhere. What is a healthy snack? Popcorn.
They always say that.
Yeah, I mean,
know.
they're saying chocolate,
Never gotten over
cinnamon.
it.
Not a good thing, Kyle?
Yeah, I would say not. Ruth Edsel, 2002, Journal of the American Medical Association. All corn in America seems to be contaminated with mycotoxins that can cause liver cancer and everything else.
Yeah, be careful out there, folks. There's a difference between what they say and what we say. Kristen, thank you.
Thank you.
Kyle, thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Most importantly, folks, thank you for being here. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.